Hi, good morning. Welcome to this presentation from PTA. Our San Ramon Valley Council PTA has partnered with C.O.P.E. Family Support to bring to you this presentation. San Ramon Valley Council PTA has great partnership with the Family Co-op and presents to you Fun and Games video edition. And now I would like to present our two speakers for this event. First one is Jackie. Jackie is a marriage family therapist trainee, and she has provided individual counseling, couples counseling, and family reunification. Jackie has graduated from St. Mary's College of California. The other presenter is Jessica Dominguez, and Jessica is also a marriage and family therapist. Jessica provides individual therapy and family therapy and anger counseling. Jessica has also graduated from the St. Mary's College of California. We will now invite Jessica and Jackie to present to you. You're on.
Thank you so much, Rumi. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for everyone for being here on a Saturday morning. There's a lot of good material we're going to go through, so excited to dig in and chat about this really important subject together. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And as Rumi mentioned, we are chatting about all fun and games technology edition. So we're really focusing on video games, but social media, TV, screen time, obviously at this day and age during quarantine in the last year, there's just been a huge increase in screen time and especially video gaming. So we're going to focus on a lot of statistics, what addiction might look like, how to maybe intervene and make changes to your child's life if they are gaming a little bit too much. So we'll dig right in. Introductions again, I am Jackie Schwant and my colleague is Jessica Dominguez. We've been with C.O.P.E, which is Counseling Options and Parent Education, Family Support for the past year. We're both marriage and family therapist trainees. And so overview of today's presentation, we really want to dig in and kind of chat about what is video gaming, what are some statistics around how often people are gaming right now. What are some impacts that we're seeing? So there's definitely benefits to video games. There's also, some concerns around addiction, concerns around sleep deprivation, eye strain, ergonomics, a lot of that stuff. We also are going to take a look at how video games actually affect the brain and why there might be some addiction involved with video gaming. Intervention strategies. I know there's majority of parents joining us today, and we really want to chat about, if you're worried your kid might be gaming too much, what can we do to wean them off of video games in a conducive, positive environment and not having the lash out that we might be experiencing. And then, we're going to present for mostly the next hour. And then after that, feel free to chat as things come up, as we talk about interventions. We'd love to hear from you all. If you have ideas and strategies that have worked for you in the past of how to wean your child off of video games, or if, concerns have come up that you're like, I don't know what to do. Let's chat about this. Go ahead and chat. If you just type in all capital letters question and then ask us the question so we know later on to make sure to address that. And if we do not have time at the end, we'll make sure we'll give you our emails and we can have an ongoing discussion after this presentation. But definitely chat as much as you guys want. We want it to be interactive and to learn from one another as we all kind of are learning this new way of quarantining and making time for ourselves. All right, so we're going to start with some poll questions just to get the interaction started. I'm going to go ahead and launch the first one. So this first question, let's see, relaunch. So go ahead, you should see it pop up there. But how many hours does your child play video games on an average weekday? So Monday through Friday, how often are they logging in? Are they losing sleep over it? Are they only able to play 1 hour, 2 hours? I see you guys filling that out. And yeah, we're going for the average, but kind of think, hey, yesterday was Friday, or Thursday, how much were they playing? All right, and I see kind of a wide array of responses, which is totally makes sense. Every kid's going to be different. Every household's different. So it's good to get a starting point of where we're at during weekday play. All right. I think that's majority of people answered so far. So looks like we have a lot at that 2 to 3 hours per day. And then, it goes up from there, 5 to 10, 10 plus. A few people said, it is getting to be that much even on a weekday. With school being online, with basically a majority of our lives are online, it makes sense. I think a lot of us are on looking at screens for 5 to 10 hours a day, if not 10 plus. So, it's good to kind of understand 2 to 3 hours a day is where we're at. And then I want to end that poll and just get an idea of how many do you think you're supposed to have? So what does the World Health Organization actually recommend for students to be playing? So I'm going to go ahead and launch the second poll. What do you think the recommendation is for a weekday?
Great. Some really great answers coming in.
All right. Thank you guys for answering those. And yeah, majority of you put 1 hour per weekday. Some people think, 3, maybe up to 5. The World Health Organization does recommend that it's 1 hour a day for weekdays. They recommend 2 to 3 hours on weekends only. So just so you get an idea of what the recommendation is, I know right now it seems very difficult and unrealistic to have that little time, only 1 hour a day.
Jessica, could you speak
Under
instead
age
of?
observation. Okay.
Okay.
So into gaming then, what was that? Do we see the results there?
No, you've gone to the gaming chart.
Yes. Okay. We're going to switch gears. So yeah, I just wanted to start with the poll and just get an idea of where we're all at, what it looks like gaming today, and what that looks like for us. So we'll get rid of the poll. All right, now we're going to go into some gaming statistics and benefits of gaming. So, looking at the year 2020, more than 214 million people in the US were playing more than an hour per week, an hour plus a week. And 75% of all households have at least one player who plays regularly. 64% of adults and 70% of teens are regularly playing. And I'm sure you guys have heard Call of Duty, NBA, Mortal Kombat, Minecraft, and Fortnite are the most popular games right now. Some benefits. So, some games include educational learnings, life skills, improved brain function, and exercise. There's the movement games, there's virtual reality games. So, some games don't give these, but some games do, and there is benefits. Educationally, kids are learning how to learn life skills. Some include teamwork, delegating, prioritizing, and there is social aspects to it if they're playing with friends. So, especially in quarantine, I know this has been a really big outlet for social interaction. The statistics are that 70% of men say that they game helps them connect with family and friends. And then 55% of women say the same thing. 30% of players have met a good friend or significant other through video gaming. So there is a lot of social aspects to it. Also, we can relax. 79% of gamers report feeling relaxed, having stress relief, kind of, you get to zone out, you get to think about something else. 57% of gamers says it brings them joy. It also gives us something to do. So enjoyment, distraction. In quarantine, a lot of our hobbies were taken away. A lot of being able to leave the house was taken away. So of course, video games were an easy alternative to that. And then lastly, distraction for parents. We're all busy, we're working, we're cleaning the house, we have house chores. So just having the kid be safe in front of a screen is an easy outlet. And it's, your kid's safe while they're doing it. So we'll switch gears and chat about concerns around video gaming. So research shows that gaming can also be linked to anxiety and depression, obesity, sleeping disorders, and stress. Playing too many games can also worsen depression. So gamers that are addicted are twice as likely to be depressed as those who do not game. And excessive gaming can lead to dopamine exhaustion, emotional suppression, and lack of motivation. We're going to dig into those three things and what that means. Lastly, gamers do tend to have poorer grades in school. Depending on the level of addiction, they might be focusing on their gaming more than on their grades. These are some other concerns that we found around gaming, dependency around it, intervention, how to kind of wean your kid off if they are playing, over that recommended 1 to 3 hours per week. Screen fatigue, the ergonomics of gamers and, making sure their bodies are moving and we can keep healthy while we're gaming. Sleep hygiene, so how gaming can actually interrupt our sleeping patterns. And then gender norms, females versus males looking into gaming. And we're going to touch on all of this throughout this presentation. And we'll kind of start with the dependency and the intervention strategies. All right, so going into addiction, what does that look like? Research studies show 1 to 16% of video gamers meet the criteria for addiction of video games. Children with poor impulse control or who have difficulty socializing are actually going to be more vulnerable to being addicted to games. It's a way to kind of fill that void and avoid real world relationships if they're hard to form for someone. When game playing is addictive, it takes over as the person's main way of coping with life, and other areas can be neglected or disrupted. We're not alone, so we're really focusing on the US, but China's actually had to place regulations where they were not letting teens under 18 log in or play any video game from 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. because of sleep disturbances and addiction. So, the US is not going to be able to put regulations around it, but just, we're not alone. We're not the only country that sees this becoming an issue and having people gaming more than maybe they should or what's recommended. More signs to be aware of just around video game addiction. So neglecting other hobbies or friendships, decline in personal hygiene or grooming, not being able to set limits. So research shows it's called flow, when basically kids are losing track of time. And that's when they're, going to bed at 3 a.m., 5 a.m. They're just gaming at all hours. That's definitely been something that's happening to a lot of children that get into gaming. There might be irritability, anxiety, anger when they're forced to stop playing the game. And then the need to spend more time playing games and more intensely to get the same level of enjoyment. So that's what we see with addiction. You need more and more and more. And we'll chat about what's actually going on in the brain that's causing that. And then symptoms of physical or psychological withdrawal, such as loss of appetite, sleeplessness, agitation, emotional outbursts if the game is taken away. And then lastly, using video games as a way to escape stressful situations at work or school. So just being aware of these things, and I think a lot of us have experienced this with a child or with ourselves with social media and TV and gaming. So just being aware of some of these signs and how, why we're going to talk about why it's happening, and then maybe some intervention on how we can prevent it from continuing to be that addiction growing. All right, so let's chat about how it's actually affecting our brain. So the first one is dopamine exhaustion. This is really based around the idea that video games send our brain a signal of dopamine. And so dopamine is a neurotransmitter in our brain that controls our feeling of pleasure. So when we put a video game on, we're going to actually get random bursts of dopamine as we play. And the more that we do play, the more that we actually need to play, because the dopamine is going to kind of stop coming down, and then we're going to crave more. And so that's where, getting the next level or paying to get a different video game or the next level up. That's why we're inclined to do that, because we want that extra hit of that happy feeling. Dopamine causes that feeling of fun, like I'm really enjoying myself right now. And so video games are just releasing that at kind of a constant rate and random burst. So you want to keep continuing. You want to get that next burst of that dopamine. When we say dopamine exhaustion, we actually mean that we're playing it so much and we're so expectant to get more that other activities end up not being enough entertainment for us. So we're like, we have so much dopamine happening playing those games that we lose pleasure in other activities. And so that's when you randomly are going to take the video game away, and your child's going to, get really angry and kind of have withdrawal symptoms because they're like, wait, no, I need that dopamine rush. And I need more than I ever needed because I've been playing it. So that's where we're kind of feeding in to that addiction. And this is, dopamine also triggers screen time, video games, chemicals like alcohol. That's where that addiction starts from. And that's why your kid's getting, a lot of pleasure from playing. And that's why it's hard to take it away. Another kind of cause in the brain is suppressing negative emotions. So for this, this is actually looking at the amygdala, is the part of the brain that governs negative emotions. So when we experience fear, anger, sadness, frustration, the amygdala is activated. So studies have shown that when we start putting a video game on, and our amygdala is active, so we might feel bad, we might feel frustrated, we might feel sad, our brain's actually calming down the second we put that video game on. So hence the video game suppresses that negative emotion. Everyone wants to not feel depressed, not feel anxious. And so that video game's like right away affecting our brain to feel calmer and relaxed. And that's where those studies come from, that like, oh, I'm so calm when I play a video game. Like literally that's happening in your brain. So as a result, video games are great coping mechanisms for children going through difficult situations. These situations could include bad grades at school, bullying, isolation, or a toxic home environment. It's crucial to recognize what video games do for your child emotionally. It's crucial to recognize like what they're really suppressing. Like, what are they feeling? Is there bullying happening and the video game makes them feel better? Or are they just trying to get some social interaction and see their friends, talk to their friends? So they don't know how to process their emotions. Video games can actually like make it easier to process them because they kind of can just ignore it. And then as a result, they might lash out with anger when they feel that you will take their video game away. So if this is a coping mechanism, it's really important to understand what it might be helping your child process, what coping skills we can learn elsewhere instead of going to video games to make us feel better. And then lastly, the triumph circuit. So this was really interesting. This is kind of going back to like humans thousands of years ago, kind of what we crave and what we want in the world. Studies have shown that children crave challenges and mastery. And so this triumph circuit is a psychological pattern that exists in all humans. Back in the day, like we used to go out and hunt and gather and bring something back and like help our society. So that feeling of doing something and triumphing and like mastering something is deep within every human. And the triumph circuit is activated when we engage in a challenge and get something out of it. So video games have found a way to hack this circuit. We can use video games to trigger the triumph circuit on our terms. That means that we no longer need to go out into the world and do something difficult or gather something. We can just turn on a video game and feel challenged and engaged and feel like we're winning and feel like we're mastering something. So it totally makes sense. But then unfortunately, that means that they might focus on that video game triumph instead of, school triumphs or making friends or learning a new hobby. And so they're getting that feeling in the video game and they really feel like they don't need it elsewhere. So that's where we want to kind of recognize that, the video game is just virtual reality. We want to also be able to succeed and challenge ourselves in the real world. So being able to kind of acknowledge that and learn from it. Okay, so those are the three, kind of what's going on in the brain and things to think about. And then next we want to chat about, okay, so how can we intervene? We see this happening. We see our kids are getting that dopamine hit. We see that they're avoiding some of their negative emotions. We also see that they feel like they're getting challenged and they're winning and it feels good to win. So now we're at 10 plus hours a week of that, and it's like, okay, how do we kind of bring them back and get them enjoying other things? And please chat if things come up for you that you're like, oh, I have ideas, I've tried this. We'd love to hear from you in the chat. So let's dig in here. And I've pulled a lot of research from a lot of different areas. So this is just going to be a lot of ideas. Every child's different, every family's different. So, take some notes, think about what might work for you and your child, and and then try to implement it. And it's going to take time. You can't, just taking it away tomorrow after we know how it, it's affecting their brain and those withdrawal symptoms. The idea is to go slowly. So if we dig in here, first thing we want to do is understand what the video game is actually doing for them. Are they suppressing negative emotions? Is something going on at school? Are they feeling depressed? And video games help with that. We really want to ask those questions and kind of dig in and say like, hey, what is happening there? And understanding what video games do for them. An example of this would actually be joining in and playing the video game with them. So saying, hey, I want to learn, like, what challenges are you getting from this game? What experiences are you having when you're playing these games, and why are you enjoying it? So really like kind of teaming up with your child, not just, they might view it as like child in my video game versus my parents. So if you can join in and like understand what they're getting from the game, it's going to help them feel like, okay, they're not just trying to rip it away from me. They're trying to understand, they want to see me, get challenged and participating in what I'm getting from it. So that's the first thing.
Jackie, what I'd like to point out that there may be some children themselves watching this. So there are some children and some parents. So just being mindful of that.
Perfect. Thank you, Rumi. And yes, I'm hoping you guys are at home, and the child's there with the parent, and that's a great point, Rumi. And these are discussions both of you guys can be having, thinking about what might work, and how it can help you think about video games a little bit differently. Okay. So that's the first thing, just understanding, why your child might be gaming and what they're getting from those video games. The next one's building rapport with your child, and getting on the same team. We've chatted about that. We understand that video games are wonderful. There's wonderful parts, there's benefits to video gaming. And so just understanding, what are they getting from it? And actually playing the game with them, you can learn like, wow, this is cool. I'm learning this. Well, I didn't know you could do this. Just understanding it more can help us, know what they're doing when they're playing those video games. And then lastly, so implementing a strategy to wean off. Again, these are just some suggestions, and this is up to you and your child to sit down and say like, the suggestion is 1 hour during the weekdays. How can we kind of get closer to that goal? Or let's chat about what's realistic for our family on how many hours during the week we can play those video games. And so some ideas include, just having another fun activity to do. And you can start slow. So just saying, hey, you're get 2 hours of video games, but then can we do 10 minutes we'll go for a walk with the dog, or 10 minutes, let's be outside. Let's start gardening, or let's go do something that we both would enjoy outside. And just having a fun alternative for that. And so implementing strategies around what could be fun and what's a good alternative for that. Another thing to think about is just that dopamine exhaustion. Like a lot of activities might not be as fun because video games give us that dopamine rush. So I think just, slowly saying, okay, how can we kind of take a break from that dopamine hit, so we can resensitize our brain. We think about how to cope with daily stressors, what we can chat about, and really work with them on what they need to kind of like not need all that dopamine, and slowly rebuild the desensitization that might be there. And then also we look at logical consequences. So, I think we just say like, okay, you're done with your video games, turn it off for the night. And that's hard, right? Especially if there's no preparation, and they're used to playing a lot of hours. So just chatting about, what's a good amount of hours, and monitoring that, and kind of understanding like how many hours make sense, and how can we, maybe do less than where we're at today. Have a family meeting to discuss how things might be able to change. Make your child's gaming time contingent to fulfilling a goal, or maybe they might be failing a goal. So saying, hey, There really needs to be like bathing involved, finish your homework and your classes before, and maintaining certain grades. So video games should be it's a reward, you know, it's fun, it's an exciting thing to look forward to. So if they're gaming all the time, these other things can start slipping. So just making sure that there is rules in place around, hey, if you can get these, you know, chores done and your class time done, then yeah, then you totally deserve to play the game, and that's great. And then they can appreciate those gaming hours more. And then determining a reasonable time that's in moderation. So again, just discussing how many hours per weekday and on the weekends make sense for you and your family. Also praising our child, saying like, great job. Like, I saw that you did this, or you tried this new activity. Like, you know, that's awesome. How was it? And really chatting about those new activities they're trying. And then be prepared that the change might not happen overnight, right? So this is just starting the conversation. Summer's coming. I feel like it's a good time to be like, what else can we do? You know, how can we get outside and kind of do some exercise and try to find dopamine in other activities. Other suggestions. So, you know, parents, we recommend playing playing the video game with your child. And, you know, as a kid, how do you feel like, wow, it would be cool if my mom, you know, saw how I was doing or what challenge I did in that game last week. So maybe just being able to really understand the game a little bit more. Understanding that for 1 week, keeping a log of how much time is spent. We talked about flow and how time can just like get away from us when we're gaming. So just really tracking how many hours are we really sitting down and doing this. Showing your child what the amount of time represents. So, hey, if you had 5 hours where you were playing a video game, what else could you have done in that time? And let's think of some ideas of other things we could attempt or sign up for or try together. Arrange active indoor, outdoor activities for children and their friends. Starting a long-term project, so something to work towards. You know, teens, you know, might be like, okay, I finished my homework, I'm done for today. So just having a longer term plan, a big project to finish that's not going to take, you know, just 3 days. It's going to take a few months, and it's something to work towards. And we'll chat about some of those ideas that we can come up with that are long-term projects. Acknowledging your child's efforts in offline pursuits. So when they're offline, be like, hey, I noticed this. This is great. How's this going for you? Checking in with them. And then eating family dinners. So Oprah Winfrey conducted a family dinner experiment. And, you know, basically had 5 families eat dinner together every night for a month. For half an hour. So just 30 minutes together for a full month every day. That's a lot, right? That's a change. And that's a commitment that you're going to really try. And that becomes a routine. And the finding of this was that actually at the end, like, it started difficult. And then towards the end, the parents realized that their children really treasured that dependable time with their parent, like putting everything away, just being with one another and really undivided attention. It's hard to find that these days with just so much going on and like just having a lot of screen time. So just really having 30 minutes where just you talk and focus on the food and focus on your time together can really be beneficial for the whole family.
There's a question here. My mom limits my video games, but then I get to watch YouTube where I see people play video games. Is this okay?
That is a great question. And you know what? That's totally up to you and your family to discuss. You know, it seems like you're asking it because you're like, oh, I think I'm working the system a little bit. I'm not gaming, but I'm learning about gaming. So that's something that you can discuss. You know, at the end of the day, we're still staring at a screen. So just thinking of alternatives of getting away from the screen is my suggestion. But again, if that's you, kind of you're not gaming, you're weaning off of it and trying to do something different and learning, then that's up to you and your parents to discuss. But that's a really good question. So some alternatives. How do we really get away from the screen completely, which is hard right now, right? We're at home. We can't do much outside of our home. What can that look like? So these are my suggestions. Please chat any other that come up for you and your family. But taking your family outside for a walk. If you have a dog, going on walking the dog, going to a sports game, those are opening up again, or a nice picnic in the park. Nice weather in California. So just being able to go and enjoy the outdoors. Playing an old-fashioned board game, you know, it's at least more people can be a part of it. Video games are pretty individualized. We're with one other person, so a board game can bring the whole family together. Enrolling in art or dance or music lessons. A lot of these things have gotten pretty creative in quarantine, being able to take a virtual dance class that you're like all, doing Zoom together, or music lessons. There's a lot of virtual options now where you can actually learn an instrument. And this is something that can be a longer term goal. Learning how to play an instrument takes time and a lot of commitment there. So that might be a hobby, you and your team can pick up. Getting a pet and give your team primary responsibilities for its care. I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble for saying this one if the kids here are like, yep, I'm ready, I want a dog. But that can be a great thing. Just having a pet around, there's that social interaction, there's someone always with you, and you get to take care of it. It takes time to kind of focus on your pet. And then reading a good book, opening a good old book, just getting away from the computer and opening a book up. So any other ideas of just ways, other options than just sitting on a video game? All right, and now we're going to switch to Jessica for presenting.
All right, thank you, Jackie. Yes, great suggestions, getting dog. I know, don't want to get anyone in trouble. I know that's not always the case. A pet is our responsibility. However, we'll be able to teach children, teens, how to take some on some of those responsibilities, right? So it could be an option for some, not all. That's why we are open to other suggestions as well. All right, so now continuing, so other concerns with gaming. So we'll be touching on screen fatigue, sleep hygiene. I know that's a big problem with gamers and non-gamers as well. Ergonomics for gamers, the gender norms, and then violence in gaming. So these are also some concerns that come along with gaming. All right, so we have sleep fatigue. So here we have, so teens spend nearly 7 hours a day using screen-based media, so like social media, watching TV, playing video games. So just 7 hours, right, a day. That's a lot. So that's why it's really important to monitor how much your child or yourself, how much you are even on the screen. I know it's hard nowadays because everything is virtual schooling. And like Jackie said, that it's a way to de-stress. So we pop on our phones or on video games, right? So definitely looking at how much and being conscious of how much you're on your screen every day. The World Health Organization recommends children under the age of 5 have less than 1 hour a day. So really looking at the kiddos who are young and making sure that they aren't spending too much time a day on their tablets or phone or video games. And then we have children who under the age under the age of 1 are actually not recommended to have any screen time. I know it's so hard because it's an easy way to get them to calm down when they're in the grocery store, or get them to sit down while we do the dishes. So it's totally understandable. However, think of it's coming to knowing this, it's coming to finding ways on how else we can entertain them or get them to relax or not, throw a tantrum in the grocery store. So that does not include screen. So we have consequences of being on the screen so much. So of course we have like a decrease in fine motor skills. So that's like writing or putting zipping up a zipper. So that's what fine motor skills is, those detailed things with the hands. And that actually, because you're on the screen so much, I know a lot of teachers have stated that children's handwriting is just unreadable because they text a lot or they use the computers to type. So that's a result of being on the screen so much. Developmental delays, decreased communication skills, and inability to maintain contact. So those are as a result of being on the screen so much, right? And then also we have physical or actual symptoms We have so eye fatigue, dry eyes. I'm sure nowadays everyone is aware of the blue eye blocking glasses. So having those when your child is on the screen or playing video games, if they do play video games, making sure that they have some, because the blue light does or being on the screen so much does causes headaches, blurry vision. So really having some protection will help against those actual symptoms of screen fatigue. And then, so ways to prevent this, we have exercise. So it's recommended that children age 6 and older have at least 60 minutes of physical activity each day. So that's, playing, going outside, playing, getting good workout, Zumba or any like dancing. I know a lot of kids like to dance, popping on some music, having like a little dance party, going outside. The weather has been great. Jackie stated for California, we were blessed to have such great weather. So being outside playing soccer or anything really, whatever they enjoy, scooters. So yeah, getting that 60 minutes a day to prevent the screen fatigue, that's going to really be a good help. And then we have taking frequent breaks. So there's a 20-20-20 rule. So for every 20 minutes, look away from the screen at an object that's at least 20 feet away for 20 seconds. So just think of 20-20-20. So every 20 minutes, look away at an object 20 feet away for 20 seconds. And that's going to help with some of the eye strain or eye fatigue. And then also, as Jackie stated earlier, is taking at least 20 minutes for every hour. And what I recommend to parents, because so like what you would plan is to have a timer, right? So what you do is put a timer, for every hour for 10 minutes. But I would suggest not doing a phone, because if it's a phone, then the kiddo can easily just shut it off or forget about it or just let it ring. So actually have this timer maybe in the kitchen where it's loud. They actually have to get up and walk to turn it off. So something that it's harder to than just like snooze it or just continue playing, right? So something you have to actually get up and actually turn off, or you can come in and be like, all right, 10 minutes, let's go walk outside, or go feed the dog, or come help me fold laundry, get a little creative with the 10-minute break, okay? And then we also have blinking. So because we need to blink, right, of course, when you're on the screen so much, it actually decreases by our blinking rate by half and causes dry eyes. So that's where you'll start getting the dry eyes, blurry vision, because we're not blinking as much as we normally would. So actually try blinking extra when you're on your breaks, or game over, take a few extra blinks just to get your eyes back to normal or working as they would. So just be conscious of your eyes. Like I said, the glasses that block the blue light, and also just be cautious that your eyes are muscles, just like any part of your body. They do get strained if you're not cautious, or you're taking too much of the screen. So we have also the 1 to 10 rule. So when we're on our mobile phones, so cell phones, having that at least like 1 foot away, so the distance, right? Desktop or laptops about 2 feet away, and then TV screens 10 feet away. So this is really going to help with some of that eye fatigue and eye strain. And then the closer you hold the devices, like the phone or the tablet, computer, whatever device you're using, the TV, your eyes are actually, the muscle, you're actually straining it because you're trying to focus on it more. So that's why it's really important to really be cautious of the distance that you are holding your devices or using the screen. And also lighting. So ideally lighting should be roughly half of what it would be for other activities, such as like writing a paper or working on crafts. This also is related to eye strain, right? So the lighting is very important to take into consideration as well. So then we're going to ergonomics. So ergonomics for gamers is about the positioning, right? So there's a lot of great things here. We have a picture to show. So I'm just going to highlight a few. Like the monitors should be, within eye distance. So like in your eye length, that's what I'm trying to say. So that way you're not looking up, because we're looking at how the eye is a muscle. And so if you're looking up, you're straining your eye. If you're looking too low, then also that also strain your eye. And then you get the side effects like headaches and blurry vision, or the dry eyes. So definitely looking at that, the position that you are. So your shoulders aren't, hunched over, you have a straight back, your wrist. So, when we're, if you think about it on the computer, your wrists are tilted, originally our bodies aren't meant to be on screens for long periods of time, so we actually should be considering how we are sitting in front of a device or computer, having our wrist at a good level, so that way they're not bent. So having them, at a good level to prevent muscle strain or joint pain. And then we also have, so the way your back is, posture, shoulders, I apologize. So then we also have sleep hygiene tips. So sleep hygiene is about good sleep habits. So we have getting a good sleep routine, making sure that you go to bed and wake up at the same time every day. So I know that's really hard, especially on the weekends and on the weekdays, but just it's a good practice to have a good sleep routine. So making sure you get, those 8 hours of sleep. I know it varies from person to person, but 6 to 8 hours. More actually, I think it's more 7 to 8 actually. So 7 to 8 hours a night, and then going to sleep when you're sleepy. So only try to sleep when you're actually sleepy and feel tired, rather than just spending too much time in bed. So we really looking at our sleep routine. If we go to bed because it's bedtime and we're not sleepy, what happens is that you associate bed with distress, because you just lay there and you can't sleep. So you're in distress, right? You're distressed. You're like, oh, I can't sleep. So I'm just going to stay here. But in reality, we have to associate sleepiness with the bed. And I know it's a vicious cycle, because I know I've had a lot of clients who are gamers, and they report that, well, I can't sleep, so I pop on and I start gaming. And then really you can't sleep because you're being stimulated. So it's a vicious cycle. So I can't sleep, so I'm in game, or I game a lot and then I can't sleep. So that's why it's really important to have a really good a sleep hygiene or sleep practices. That way you can get your full hours of sleep. So looking at not just quantity, but also quality. That's why I say sleep when you're sleepy. That way you're associating bedtime and sleepiness. And then if you can't sleep, so get up and try again. So if you haven't been able to sleep after 20 minutes or more, get up and go do something calming or boring until you feel sleepy. So like sitting quietly on a couch with the lights off. Because again, we're looking, if you're sitting in front of a screen or your phone or with lights on, then you're telling your brain that it's time to wake up, or you're stimulating your brain, like saying like, I need to do something, when you're wanting to calm down, wind down and get sleepy. Read something boring like the phone book, or I don't know, like nowadays they don't have that, but maybe like a magazine, or your history book, or something that you find boring. Just something that you find boring, or yeah, or even doing something that organizing your old bookshelf. Just something that will make you sleepy. I don't know if you guys have some other ideas, but those are some things that I came up with. Avoid caffeine and nicotine. Those are stimulants, guys. So really not be mindful of if you're drinking coffee or too late in the day, or you're drinking soda. Soda has caffeine. Or any like teas that have caffeine in it, or chocolates, or other medications. A lot of people aren't aware of what has caffeine, such as medication. There are some medications out there that do keep you up. So, talking to your doctor, is this going to help me sleep, or is it going to interfere with my sleeping? So really looking at that. Also nicotine, like cigarettes, those also are stimulants. So those will prevent you from having a good night's sleep. It's best practice to avoid, caffeine or nicotine 4 to 6 hours before going to bed. And then avoid alcohol as well. I know this has been reported that sometimes people will drink a beer before going to bed because they feel like they'll go to sleep easier, or they're relaxed, but it's actually it also affects the sleep. Also, another practice is 4 to 6 hours before going to bed. Best practice. And then, but like, even though people say like, oh, it just helps me go to sleep, that might be the case. However, it's also looking at quantity versus quality, right? So you might be falling asleep, but your sleep isn't you're not actually sleeping. You're not getting that actual rest that you need, that your body and your mind needs. And then bed is for sleeping. So like I said earlier, we're trying to associate our bed with sleepiness, not distress, or any other emotions that might or like symptoms besides sleepiness, right? So that's why when you go to bed, you go to bed when you're sleeping. Try not to use your bed for anything but sleeping, because then you'll associate. So I know I have clients who do homework in bed, and but then if you do homework, you become stressed, and then you associate your bed with stress, right? So just leave the bed for sleeping. And then I know naps are dear and precious to a lot of people, but if you are noticing you're having a hard time sleeping, no naps during the day. So it's best to avoid taking naps during the day, so that way you make sure you're tired before bedtime. If you can't make it throughout the day without taking a nap, make sure your naps are no more than an hour and before 3 p.m. Because if you are sleeping through the day, then it becomes another vicious cycle, right? So I'm sleeping during the day, but I'm not sleeping at night. So then I'm going to be playing video games or on the screen. So it's just best to hold off those naps or sleeping until bedtime. And then another good tip is bathing before sleeping. So a hot bath 1 to 2 hours before bedtime can be useful because it rises the body temperature, causing you to feel sleepy and your body temperature to drop again. So you feel sleepy as your body the body temperature gets down. So there's actually research that shows that the sleepiness is associated with a drop in body temperature. So definitely, if you're having a hard time sleeping, try switching up your routines. Like instead of showering in the morning, maybe taking a bath at night. And then also some other tips I help is if I know sometimes people say, well, I like to sleep with the TV on instead of TV because of the background noise. instead of the TV, because of the light, your brain becomes stimulated. Instead of a TV, try doing the sound machine, waves or rain or whatever, like a white noise to help you to sleep, but in healthier ways, so that doesn't affect the quality of sleep that you have. And then we also have exercise. So exercise, regular exercise is a good idea to help with good sleep. If you, but it's also the same thing. You have make sure you do it before 4 hours before going to sleep, because then you're all ready to go and you're hyped up. And I'm like, oh yes, I can run another marathon. Or so definitely exercise is great, but we have to be cautious on when we exercise. And then eating right. So a healthy, balanced diet will help you sleep well, and timing is important, right? So some people find that very on empty stomachs, that is distracting, so they can't sleep. So maybe you'll need a light snack, nothing heavy before going to bed, because then that can prevent you from sleeping. So I know there's been suggestions in the past about having a warm glass of milk before bed, and that can be beneficial as well. But just making sure it's not too much, because if we get full easily, then it can be distracting as well. But so those are just some sleep hygiene tips. And then, so the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that children not sleep with any device in their bedrooms, including TVs, computers, or smartphones. And then also, they also recommend to avoid them an hour before going to bed. And this is what I recommend to anyone who comes to me and says, I have a hard time sleeping. It's like, okay, so are you sleeping with the TV on? Are you on your phone before you go to bed? Yes. Oh, okay, so let's try putting it away an hour before going to bed, because that really affects not only your quality of sleep, but also quantity, how much you're getting, how much sleep you're getting. So putting them in another room, charging them in the kitchen, those are great strategies to avoid that. As you know, if you're thinking like, okay, but I need something to do before going to sleep, like an hour, that's kind of late. Well, reading a book, reading books together as a family. You can do like the bathing before, so try and implement other things instead of the TV. And then using devices past bedtime, especially for violent games or TV shows, can interfere with sleep, right? So because it's a lot, their brain is being stimulated by all of the violence and the usually violent shows or video games shows a lot of lights. So all that light stimulates the brain, so making it hard to sleep, or even causing nightmares. So then also, sorry. Oh yeah, sorry, we talked about this. Just the blue light, making sure we have that blue light blocking glasses, because that also does affect. So then we're looking at gender norms. So gender norms when playing video games. So 59% of gamers are male, and then 41% are female gamers. So it's not a huge difference, but there are reported that males tend to be the dominant gender to play the games, right? And then while looking at some studies, we found that there are some gender differences as to why they game. So differences and similarities, but not a whole, not significant differences, but there's some. So for example, men reported that, so differences, so men report that they enjoy gaming because of the competitiveness. So they feel like because they enjoy the competitiveness, that is a motivation for them to keep playing, to beat the next level, to get to the next level too. get more coins or get more money, or whatever the objective of the game is. Also, men report that they like the fantasy of it. So men are motivated by fantasy more than women. And so, I'm not sure what the fantasy entails, but I'm guessing being able to, do things that are maybe not they're not able to in real life, like pick up strong objects, or get a car that they want. Those are just some examples that I can think of. For women, however, they enjoy this escapism part of gaming. So they're motivated because they can escape the real world and change things in the virtual world to how they would want. So, getting the clothes that they want, or again, the cars that they may be wanting, or just some examples. So being able to get things that they wouldn't normally in real world. And then some challenges, some similarities that both genders, or all genders would have when it comes to gaming, is that it challenges them, right? So they enjoy that challenge. They enjoy being able to figure out how to beat the next level, how to get that other player on their team. So they enjoy that challenge. However, boys have reported more than women or girls that they enjoy it more than girls do, than the other genders. And the relationship. So both acknowledge that their relationship benefits. So relational benefits. So either that you are finding friends online. So finding friends, I've had people report that they have found a significant other while playing virtual games, or online while they're streaming, or so there's that relational benefit that both genders report that they like. Also, they found the arousal that they liked. So entertainment, excitement, enjoyment, and then so that's for men. And then for women, that they enjoyed exploring, researching, shopping online within the second life. So they enjoy that, having the outlet to do entertainment that might not be applicable to real world, right? So those are some reports that men and women have reported when it comes to gaming. And so I know this has been a popular question, and especially nowadays with in our society right now, are video games associated with violence? And we did research, and there's not a straight answer. So it's and this has been something that researchers have been doing studies for more than 10 years on. So it's definitely, I would even say more than that, honestly. There's been studies that have been conducted on violent shows, violent movies, and how that affects the child, or even not even like the person, honestly, the individual. So several studies have been conducted in the past. I would even say argue like 15, 20 years to look at the positive and negative effects of I know it's probably 10 years with the video games, but I would even say when it comes to like aggressive behaviors, so or movies. So it's like I said, it's something that has been studied on and looked at, and continues to be studied. And what I did find was that there was a study published from Frontiers in Psychology, and they looked at 167 young adults who are non-gamers violent gamers and non-violent gamers. So they had three subject, three study, looked at three groups, and they saw that there was a link between heavy violent game exposures and how and a decreased practice of empathy, mature moral reasoning, and moral disengagement. So although this is one study, it's not a cause and effect. So I can't say, yes, it is absolutely correlated. Video games is correlated. However, there is a possibility, there is some connection, or there is suggestions that it is. But like I said, it's been studied, it continues to be studied. So it's not a for sure thing. So I put this up because I got an email and I thought it was really interesting. And it was during this time that we were preparing for this this lecture, this class on gaming, and it came to my attention that there are other things to keep your kids entertained other than doing video gaming. So I can share this, or it's going to be sent out to you guys anyways, but there was suggestions like virtual tours. They had, I think it was like a virtual tour of the aquarium, which I thought was phenomenal. Who knew, right? I know because of the pandemic, a lot of things are closed. Luckily, things are starting to open up, but I understand that it's timing, right? We're all on our different comfort levels on how much exposure we want at this time. So I thought this was a good thing I wanted to share with you all, is that there are things that you can do, virtual tours, classes, that you can take. I think Jackie's mentioned like a virtual dance class. There was virtual like guitar lessons online, or just like events that you and your child can do together. Oh, I think my favorite one that I just remembered was like a ratatouille cooking class, and I was like, wow, that is so cool. So they even have cooking classes online based on movies. So I thought that was something I think that would be great to share. I would want to share with you all. Okay, so yeah, we're wrapping up now. So we had some questions like, what were your main takeaways from today's class discussion? And then this is where we are welcoming any questions or comments that you all may have.
So there is a question, and it's come from a participant. You recommend blue blocker glasses. My optometrist told my family that they are not necessary because most phones and monitors have night mode. Are they scientific studies to show the blue blockers are effective?
That's a great question. So yeah, so there, our phones do have the blue light or the night mode, right? However, not all our devices have that. So not our computers. Our computers don't have that, or are we using it all the time? And I think that's where we're suggesting that we implement that, is when we're playing hours and hours on video games, or we're on the screen. I know some of you have classes online, so that's where I would implement it more, not just when the night mode is on.
Okay. One more question is, nicotine has caffeine, and that means vaping is absolutely not good, right?
Correct. So Jessica mentioned the stimulant. It kind of jolts us and gives us energy. And that's where vaping at nighttime or past 3 p.m., it can definitely affect your sleep patterns. That's part of the nicotine, alcohol, caffeine. Yeah, they all are going to give your brain a jolt of energy that you don't necessarily want at the end of the day.
This question is, you talked about boys and girls, but what kid who doesn't identify as a boy or girl, what is their their experience online? Is it different?
Yeah, I
That's a
can.
great. Okay.
Go ahead, Jessica.
Oh, sorry. So that's a really great question. And I didn't find any research, and I'm going to be, full transparent. There was actually hard getting really good research on the gender norms that I did find. So this was just from one study that I found. So I think that is something that is still being that's still being studied and taken into consideration. But that's a very good question. I wish that there was more studies so I can speak on that. But because I didn't find it, I didn't mention it. But I'm with you. There should be more studies that looks at people who don't identify as male or female, or as or don't or identify as non-binary, right? So I didn't find anything. I wish I could. I wish I found more on that to speak on that. And I did put the Eventbrite link in the
Right.
chat.
Okay. Any more questions? All right. Looks like the questions. Can you share your emails? That's
Yes, of course.
something.
Yes, of course. We'll add them to the chat now.
Okay. All right. All right. Can we stop sharing the screen so then we can talk to people? The presentation is done. Now you are open to ask any questions, or we'll bind up soon. Okay. Okay, I invite Lisa to thank our presenters.
No, thank you so much. This was wonderful listening to it. I learned so much, and I know that everybody else here learned so much as well. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us and share all this great knowledge, because this is a hard topic, and I think so many parents struggle. I know I struggle with it with my children. So any input, any advice that we can get, in the facts that we can. I know some children are very logical, and you can come to them and you can say, but this is what the research shows, and all having this kind of data that you provided is so helpful. So just thank you so much. And I'm going to encourage people to watch this presentation afterwards, because we will have it up on our website for people to enjoy later. So I can't thank you enough.
Thanks for having us, Lisa.
You're very welcome. Anytime you guys want to come back and present, just say the word. There's always a space for you.
Thank you.
Good luck.